I wait for free shipping days, and you have it here today.
Right.
With jewelry.
I know.
Oh
and beautiful, elevated, fine jewelry,
Yes.
which is a great segue into our diamond earrings that we're gonna highlight in a lever back design. These are 1/3 of a carat, a little over 1/3 of a carat, of genuine gorgeous diamonds in 14 karat gold. And you'll notice in the classic dangle design, even coming down in that half hoop, look at that, studded.
More diamonds.
With more diamonds. Is that not gorgeous? So you're gonna choose the 14 karat in rose gold. We have your 14 karat available in white gold, and then our 14 karat hoop earring diamond drop in the yellow gold. These we originally presented at $700.
Wow.
Today, more than, what are we looking at, almost 50% off.
Yeah.
$369.95 beyond, 5 or 6 monthly flex payments. And these diamonds are also graded. I do want to mention that. They're HI color, which is near colorless diamonds. Right. They're I1, I2 clarity. So the only way you would notice any imperfections or inclusions would be looking under a gemological instrument. That would be the only way there.
Right.
And these do come, please understand, with a certificate of authenticity that certifies both the actual and the outlook carat weight of the diamonds that are in place here. So you are definitely, it's an investment, we understand that, but we also want you to know that you're gonna get all the certificate of authenticity that comes along with that.
That's so important, and that's a really powerful point you make, that it comes with a certificate, because oftentimes if you were to go and buy a diamond piece of jewelry and try to source that certificate of authenticity afterwards, you're paying, you know, $100, $150 just for that. So here you have a beautiful earring that comes along with the certificate, and it comes with the actual gem weight and the outlook. So when we talk about outlook, we mean what these appear to be. Because yes, you're looking at 1/3 of a carat, but they have the presence, they perform, they have the outlook of a half carat or more each ear. And that's because each and every single one of these diamonds is individually faceted, which I found very impressive. Because sometimes what happens in the diamond industry is a diamond doesn't have the number of facets that it's supposed to. Right? Because people say, it's a diamond, so I want it. But when it comes to having quality diamonds, you want them to have 57 facets. That's the standard.
And these do.
These do. Each and every single gemstone. So even on the half hoop that goes through the lobe, even on that, what appears to be the solitaire, each one has the 57 facets to allow for sparkle, which allows for light return and allows for that dazzle.
And boy, do they dazzle. This would be my live-in earring. Again, 14 karat, rose gold's gonna be the first to go, white or yellow. I would sleep in these, I'd shower in these, I'd work out in these. This would be an lever back design. They're so incredibly comfortable. In terms of what these are gonna appraise for, I can only imagine. Our HSN price was $700.
Right.
So, can you imagine? And that we're always, I mean, we usually, oh my goodness, at least.
This is best at this point.
At this point.
Such a criminal price.
Exactly. I mean, well over 3/4 of the, prices that you would expect to pay in retail that we offer on